Welcome to this explainer. It's a profound look into psychology, self-preservation, and the invisible traps we fall into every single day. Let's dive into exactly how this works. Picture this. You've got a vast, perfectly silent forest. A large, peaceful herd of sheep is just slowly making its way through this narrow, enclosed valley. They're calm, totally unaware of any danger, just moving together as one big unified group. But then, that silence is completely shattered. Out from the shadows of the trees, a pack of wolves steps out, right into their path. The sheep, they instantly freeze. Eyes wide, legs shaking. In the natural order of things, they know exactly what's supposed to happen next. Whispers start rippling through the herd. This is it. This is the end. But right here is where the story takes a super fascinating turn. Because the wolves, they don't attack. Instead, the leader of the pack just casually walks forward. He's calm, he's confident, and strangely enough, he's almost amused by this terrified herd. He looks at them, smiles, and says, "Relax. We are not here to hunt. Not today." Now, imagine being one of those sheep. The confusion. This completely defies everything they expect. I mean, why on earth would a hungry pack of wolves corner you just to tell you to relax? Well, here's the twist. There is just one single rule to the twisted game these wolves are setting up. The wolf leader slowly explains, "We just want to play a small game. At sunset, the one who stands at the very back will be ours." And with that agonizingly simple rule, the wolves just step aside. They don't chase the herd, they don't bare their teeth or growl. They just wait, leaving the sheep standing there perfectly still, desperately trying to process what on earth just happened. So one sheep takes a tentative step forward, then another follows, and suddenly this singular, highly infectious thought is born. I just need to not be last. This idea spreads through the paralyzed herd like absolute wildfire. Think about the psychology going on here. The threat isn't immediate death for everyone anymore. The threat is now highly specific, and it's totally relative to everyone else in the group. You don't have to outrun the wolves anymore, you just have to outrun your neighbor. And we can literally trace the psychological spiral that happens next. It starts off as a calm walk, right? Just a few sheep trying to casually reposition themselves. But quickly, as that panic starts to set in, it shifts to a fast pace. The sheer fear of being at the back pushes them into a full-on run. And almost instantly, running devolves into complete, utter chaos. "Move, let me go ahead. Don't push me. I am not going to be the one who dies." It brilliantly illustrates how incredibly fast a unified, peaceful group can just completely spiral out of control the second a specific type of fear is introduced. As this chaos peaks, something much deeper, and honestly, a lot darker takes over. Survival at any cost. We're talking active sabotage here. Sheep literally start pushing others behind them. They're tripping the weak. Some are even looking back, rapidly calculating and intentionally choosing who to sacrifice. It's a tragic reality. At this point, the sheep aren't even running from the wolves anymore. They are desperately fleeing from and actively attacking each other. Which brings us to the ultimate betrayal. Amidst all this trampling and blind panic, one sheep actually shouts out, "Sorry, but it's you or me," right before violently shoving another one to the back of the herd. Wow, that really punches home the absolute loss of empathy here, doesn't it? When raw survival instinct takes the wheel, unity just disappears. The herd isn't a community anymore. It's just a collection of terrified individuals willing to do absolutely whatever it takes to survive this twisted game. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is the contrast. Think about it. On one side, you have the wolves. They are standing perfectly still, just watching the show. They haven't taken a single physical step forward because, well, they don't need to. And on the other side, the sheep, breathing heavily, shaking, absolutely exhausted. But the real issue is that their minds are completely trapped. This stark contrast reveals the terrifying truth. The wolves' trap wasn't physical at all. The true trap was entirely psychological. So hours pass. The herd is running on fumes. Just a little more, they think. Just don't be last. But in the midst of all this madness, one old, tired, wounded sheep suddenly realizes what's actually happening. He whispers, "Stop. We are killing ourselves." But it's a desperate warning that completely falls on deaf ears. No one is listening. The fear is just so loud, and it's so completely consumed the herd that they've literally become deaf to reason and blind to their own self-destruction. And finally, the sun touches the horizon. The deadline is here. Silence falls over a broken, exhausted, and deeply divided herd. The wolves finally step forward. But they don't need to chase anyone. They don't need to mount some fierce attack. Because laying right there in front of them is a group that has already done the devastating work for them. As the last light of the day fades, one sheep, lying beaten on the ground, looks at the approaching wolves, and then looks back at the absolute ruin of its own herd. And with its final breath, it has this somber, crushing realization. The wolves didn't defeat us. We defeated ourselves. The wolves simply walk in and begin to eat. The psychological trap? It worked flawlessly, right from start to finish. Okay, let's pivot for a second, because this isn't just some story about sheep and wolves in a forest. This fable is a direct, unfiltered look at how the real world actually operates. It's a massive metaphor for human psychology and our societal structures. We really need to unpack the actual lesson of this story and see exactly how it applies to our daily lives. Let's anchor this to human behavior. How does this trap work in the real world? Well, first, the enemy doesn't always attack you directly. Instead, they plant one highly toxic idea in your mind. You are not safe unless you are ahead of others. Sound familiar? Once that idea takes root, we start acting exactly like the herd. We start running, constantly comparing ourselves to everyone else, and relentlessly competing. And if we aren't careful, we begin to push others down just to ensure our own success or survival. The brilliant and honestly terrifying takeaway here is that the real trap was never outside of us. The real enemy is the one inside our own minds. Psychologists and sociologists actually have a term for this phenomenon. It's called the theater effect. It's a situation where fear creates chaos, and that resulting chaos is what ultimately destroys unity. Think of a crowded theater where someone falsely yells, "Fire." The fire isn't what hurts people, right? It's the panic stampede to the exit that does the damage. Every single irrational, self-destructive action those panicked sheep took ties directly back to this specific, highly destructive psychological mechanism. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. I want you to look at your own life for a second. Your career, your social circles. Are you actually running from wolves? Meaning, are you dealing with a real, tangible threat? Or are you just racing the herd? Take a moment today to really think about whether the traps you're trying so desperately to escape are physical or entirely psychological. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this changes how you think about the competition around you.